All right, the crowd is going crazy. And the map is indeed going to be Core Hall City. I feel, Sean, like boomsticks are always a great idea.
I mean, they
at every
really
sporting
are.
events. They should be at birthdays, weddings, NASCAR races.
No doubt. Spawning down in the bottom corner. Oh, look at this. With already the manor spawning in the south from Team Microsoft, it is none other than Ether. Up in the north position saying, GLHF, I sort of regret not saying no to No Rush 20. From Team Amazon, it is Catfish.
Sean, I don't know about you, but I was always that guy who said no rush 20, and then I rushed.
Oh my gosh, that is truly evil, Mike.
Those are career-ending things, so I wanted to let you guys know before it came out.
Looks like Microsoft's Ether is beginning to plant that pylon down at his front. Up at this top side, it looks like Catfish doing a little bit of chrono boosting up at the north side. And of course, we can even get a shot of the players in the player booths right now, intensely clicking away at this moment. This is a very key and sort of angst-ridden time in a PvP where you're not quite sure if you're going to be four-gated or not. It's unclear whether your opponent's going to be going for some of those threatening Oracle strategies that you mentioned.
Looks like he's saying Guerre cheese is the best cheese. I probably mutilated that word, but that's okay. But we are at cross-spawn locations, and it's kind of interesting because back in the day, it didn't matter how large the map actually was because, again, Stalkers are so fast, you can proxy the pylon, but now there are some slower units kind of in the mix. I think especially the Mothership Core here. So distance between these two players does actually matter a lot more than it used to, and that does mean that this could be a longer-winded game. Defending your natural is about as easy as it gets on this map compared to any other map out there. So I'm kind of curious to see. They must have been talking a little bit, saying, hey, no rush 20 minutes. They disagreed on that, but I am kind of curious to see if they do manage to drag this game out just a little bit longer. We have the Cybernetic score is going to be going down at the exact same time, and you can see Catfish right now is going to be going for the double assimilator with only 2 probes inside. And Sean, you and I have actually talked about this in the past before. And what's kind of the point here? Is only having 2 in there, is that intentional?
Oh, it's a great strategy, yeah. I mean, doing this allows you just a little bit of extra gas income than 1 does. You're not sacrificing too much extra minerals, but most importantly, it means that virtually anything is possible. It's really unclear what on earth you could be doing. So it means that Microsoft's Ether is really not going to be able to get a good read on Catfish, but both of them are going for this double gateway play.
Yeah, the double gateway going to be extremely, extremely useful here for holding off any sorts of early rushes. And it does look like right now still we have Chrono Boost going down on the Warp Gate here, which is pretty standard for Protoss. I mean, Warp Gate is something that's always useful to have. The thing to remember about Chrono Boosting, though, is that if you're going to be Chrono Boosting out some sort of tech, whether it's Thermal Lance or whether it's Warp Gate, is if you're Chrono Boosting it out, make sure you're using it as soon as it's done. Otherwise, you don't really benefit from that because you could just Chrono Boost out probes, which you always benefit from. Oh my god, it is going to be a 4-gate.
Don't hate the 4-gate on this map. It's so hard to defend the front of the base with just sentries. The key defense for Catfish is going to have to be the Mothership Core or getting out a lot of Stalkers early. The big benefit that we're seeing for Team Amazon is the fact that with those early gas geysers, Catfish can get a lot of Stalkers. That's not going to be possible for Ether. Catfish is going to have to retreat. Right now, it looks like in the health battle, Ether is managing to push back Catfish, but Catfish is slightly ahead in terms of HP. There needs to be a whole nother round of Stalkers. More Chrono Boost must go down. It looks like that Warp Gate is almost done for Ether. There's a little bit of an exchange in mid, and it looks like, one does get picked off, but Catfish is continuing to push. He's going to get a free Zealot. Not the closest pylon, but this probe is beginning to make its way quite far up north.
Yeah, and it does look like that Zealot is going to get taken out as well. Now, keep in mind that a 4-gate does not necessarily just hard counter a 3-gate. It's not simple math like that. I've seen lots of Protoss players able to hold on. It really depends on how many units they make ahead of time, how aggressive they are with their scouting on those Stalkers. Looks like he is going to attempt to run into there. Does not want to do that, though, as there is way too many Stalkers, double to be exact. And this is going to be a very tense moment. You mentioned the Mothership Core. It is on the way. We'll see if he can actually get an Immortal out in time. He needs to make sure not to get supply blocked, though, and he's not scouting his own base, so those pylons are going to be going down. This is going to be such a tense moment here for Catfish.
Oh my gosh, and right now it looks like Catfish is warping in some additional Stalkers. He has to kill off this probe right away, but it's already built that devastating southern pylon, and it looks like it's going to have to be a micro miracle right now for Catfish. He is going to have to pull back. Uh-oh, a lot of stalkers in the main base. This could be a very swift game number one. The mothership core is starting to engage. Will he try to build an immortal? Uh-oh, that's a key pylon right here for Catfish. The stalkers try to engage, but I mean, oh, Ethers with the 4-gate is dealing some massive pain.
The mothership core did survive for a little bit there, eventually does get taken out, but this is kind of how 4-gate goes. If you do not prepare for it, it can take you by surprise. There's so many stalkers right now for Catfish. Never got the photon overcharge, never got out the immortal. He's trying to get an immortal out right now. I don't know if one immortal is going to be enough to be able to kill all of this off, though. Warping in Zealot right at the stalkers. He's trying to keep the stalkers there as long as possible, but guess what? Zealot's warping in for Ether right now. Zealots are exactly what you want to have versus that immortal. This one immortal is going to come out. You can see him rallying it already to the safety of those. A cannon going down because he knows that all he can lose to is a counterattack. There's the pylon. Everything is unpowered except for one single gateway, and unless this immortal lives up to his name and never dies, he does not stand a chance.
I'm not sure that's even going to be possible at this phase, Mike. There's just too much. Microsoft's Ether comes out strong with an aggressive 4-gate, and good game. Microsoft leads the series 1-0. You know, I gotta say, Mike, I'm not necessarily surprised that a 4-gate happened on that map. It's very common,
right?
But I mean, I will say it's very painful to be in Catfish's position where it's so easy to accidentally miss that scouting pylon. The scouting probe with all the forward pylons.
Yeah, and you got to remember that that map is absolutely huge. And as we were talking about it a little bit earlier, is that this map is really good for macroing up, which means that some players try and metagame you by doing an early rush, even though the map is very large. But again, stalkers are fast, pylons are faster. You can have everything ready to go for that 4-gate, so no surprise there to see that. It does kind of remind me of Tal'Darim Altar a little bit, where they didn't have the one force fieldable ramp, where it takes more than one force field to block your engines. So it puts you in a situation where you'd have to make 2 sentries just to delay it for once, and they're giving each other a bunch of high fives over there, as that is your victor for game number 1.
And you know, that's always going to feel really, really good. There's a number of strategies that are, at the very least, can really throw your opponent off kilter. A 4-gate does have a lot of follow-throughs. You know, obviously you can expand straight to the back door on that map. You can go straight into Blink and still exploit the big choke. There's a ton of follow-ups. And you may as well just do one of those sorts of strategies if you're feeling a little bit anxious. It's very easy to get the stalkers out, put pressure back on your opponent, and we saw it was just a really simple, standard misread from Amazon's Catfish.
Yeah, you also have to remember that going straight for DTs is actually extremely common in this matchup now, because there's a lot of builds that are susceptible to it. So if you're able to execute your 4-gate effectively, you're actually going to be hitting before those Dark Templar even get out. Then it's a dicey situation because you have lots of units, but if they do get out a couple of Dark Templar, you have no detection. But that is why the 4-gate, you know, it's not necessarily good on every map, but it was utilized perfectly here.
So guys, stay tuned. When we come back, it's going to be game number 2 between these two players. And in this short break, they'll be getting set up for the next match. But keep in mind, this is a best of 7, so things are just getting started. Team Microsoft, the champions from Season 1, are already looking good. Stay tuned.